alive, and kicking. That's the first sign of life. Movement. What's the first sign of soul? Is desire, a will. You have a will for something. A little baby doesn't understand. A little baby isn't driven except it has a will. It wants something. It may want the bright color thing, ball or whatever, so it stretches its arm to try to grab it. Or like my grandchildren tried to grab my beard, because I guess it looks, something grabbable. But the first sign of life in the human is that we desire, we want, we have a will for something. Why do you have that will? No particular reason. You get older, mind develops, so then, our mind tells us, oh, you should desire this because this is good for me. But for a little baby, it doesn't know what's good, what's not good. It's just, kind of driven by some desire. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. And we share today with Michael in Germany, Amy in Colorado, John is in North Carolina, Rabbi in Morocco. We have Yohanan in California, Joseph in New Jersey, Liba and Davida in New York, Sandy in Michigan, Stan in London, England, Diana, Arizona, Mordechai in New England, Eugenia in Calgary, Dana in Washington State, Cindy in Florida, Mary in Florida, Vera, you have to remind me where, who else is joining us? Carmen in the US of A. Tim in Texas. Right. We have Michael, we have Jay, we have Instagrammers, Akoy, and Lima, Peru, Rebek, Did Cook, Grace, Yenta Televenta, Yidisha Meidele. We have Eliza in Florida. There is in Chapel Hill, New Jersey, if I'm correct. Rabbi Mangel, I think, is there at Chabad. Okay. How responsible are we to be for others? For your own family, you feel total responsibility. How about your community? How responsible do you need to be? How about it's not your community, but it's another community? Right? The community down the river. How responsible do you need to be for them? We're going to learn today the depth of responsibility that is very demanding, shall we say, the least. Letter 16, the Alter Rebbe begins with the words, "My beloved, my brethren and friends who are to me like my own soul. Very, very deep connection the Alter Rebbe feels towards us. It says, the hardships of the times are not hidden from me. That earning a living now has declined. And there are those even that don't even have someone to provide for them. There's no available work, not for the man, not for the woman. And literally you need to borrow in order to eat. May God show compassion and speedily bring a respite to your difficulties. Nonetheless, continues the Alter Rebbe says, you would not be acting rightly unto your very own souls. Reports have come to me that you have closed your hand, you've held a clenched hand, rather than opening your hand and helping with a generous eye to satisfy the needs of those who are truly destitute. And here he's making a reference to the Jewish people in the land of Israel that at the time was under the Ottoman Empire, and the fund that he was raising, Kolel Chabad, to support those Jews there that were truly destitute. Israel is a rocky terrain. Today they've turned a desert into a lush and lavish, unbelievable, prosperous land. But by its natural terrain, it's very difficult. And even to grow things was extremely difficult. So the destitute there was beyond anything that was back in the home in the motherland of Russia, under the Tsar of Russia. As difficult as it was even if you had to borrow. At least you had to borrow. At least you had some way to put food on the table. So continues the Alter Rebbe says, we will not have pity on them. Who will? Again, who's he speaking to? People who are having extremely great difficulties, yet he says that we should be giving with a generous eye. So now he quotes from the Torah and how the sages explain. The verse says, and your brother may live with you, which means that you have a responsibility to your brother, meaning referring to a fellow Jew, that he will live with you. Live with you means subordinate to you. In other words, your life takes preference over your brother's life. So the Talmud, based on those words, gives an example that if you were in the desert and you only had one pitcher of water, one flask of water, and you're holding on to it. So do you share it? Or do you have it for yourself? Now, it's speaking about a very hypothetical case, but it's about the parameter of the law rather than the practicality of the law. Because we're talking about you have one flask of water, and it's enough to hydrate one person, but not two. Now, how you would know that, it's irrelevant to the point over here. The point being, it's enough for one, but not for two. So, who gets to drink the water? Well, the one who has the water. Why? Because the verse says, your brother will live with you meaning with you, subordinate to you. First is you, then your brother. So first, your life takes preference over his life. That's what the verse is coming to tell us. That's what the halacha, the law, is. That's what the law is. So in other words, the responsibility I have to someone else is only after I have fulfilled the responsibility I have towards myself to making sure that I have what I need. Says the Alter Rebbe, we have to be nuanced on what that statement is saying. That's speaking about a pauper that needs bread for themselves, for their little children, firewood and clothes in the winter because of the cold. Now, that takes precedence, that need of mine, before someone else's need, according to Jewish law, as we just stated. However, if what my needs are is fine apparel, a family feast with meat and fish, and all other kind of delicacies, right, for myself and for my household, that does not take precedence over someone else who needs, again, bread, literally just bread on the table to exist, firewood and, warm clothing for a winter's day, which again is much more essential than having meat and fish. Because when the Talmud is speaking that you're in the desert and there's only one flask of water and you're holding on to it, well, it's because you're both in the desert, and this is equally about life. But if it's unequal, it's about me having extras, and here the extras means, fish and meat. Of course, it's extra than compared to water and bread. For me to have that, then those extras, I'm not on the same playing ground. I'm here, they're here, and therefore I have a responsibility to them. If it was equal playing ground, then no, I take precedence. But if it's not equal, those extras don't take precedence over the person who doesn't have. Further, to bring this point out, the Talmud speaks about a case that's on an individual level, also on a community level. If there is a river that goes through two communities, right? It goes through community A first, right? And then community B. But if there's only enough drinking water that will suffice community A, not enough for community B, so they don't have to share the water. It comes through first community A, they can use it for themselves, so to speak, drain the swamp, right? Because they come first, based on this law here that we just learned. But if community A doesn't need that water for drinking because they have other wells that they can rely on, that water of that stream, of that river, they use it for washing clothes, but not for drinking water. But community B, down the river, needs it for drinking water. So the law is community A is not allowed to use that water. What do you mean? It's coming through here. I have unequal access, equal, right? Well, not according to Jewish law, you don't. According to Jewish law, community A has to leave the water flow to community B in order that they can have it as drinking water. That makes them on equal footing. Now, of course, if there's enough for both things, that's not the issue. We're talking about in a case where there isn't enough for both. You have enough just for one community. Now, how would that be? It's not the point. We're giving the parameter of the law, which is fascinating. So how responsible are we for each other in the Jewish community? Very responsible. With this, I'd just like to point out something very unique in the sense of responsibility that we see in the Jewish community. I don't know if it exists elsewhere. But there's a service called Hatzalah. Hatzalah means like a 911 respondent team first responders to a scene of, or to someone who needs medical help, medical attention. So these are individuals who've been trained how to be first responders. And in our community here, there's many of them. They'll even drive on Shabbos because of urgency. There's a number that you call to that there's someone who mans it 24/7 and sends out people with their own cars, and they arrive, 9 out of 10 times before 911 arrives, and they do it. There's no charge for it. They collect the funds themselves in order to cover whatever expenses there are. Everybody there that goes out is a volunteer. I don't think that exists anywhere. Likewise, there's another organization called Chaverim, which Chaverim means friends, that if you have a flat tire or you need a boost in the winter, they call them up. Someone's going to come with a battery to boost you free of charge. The person that comes as a volunteer doesn't get paid. Might even leave in the middle of their work in order to help you. Why did they do that? Well, that's the idea over here of the sense of responsibility that we have, that Judaism, the Torah teaches us that we are obliged. That so much so that the bread that I have, in it will be your sustenance and yours, even before mine, on some level. So that's a uniqueness of the Jewish people, of the Jewish soul, and of what the Torah is obliging us. Obliging us can only oblige someone who's got the capacity to do it, so it's part of the makeup of the Jewish soul. It's phenomenal. All right, more will continue. Today we'll continue in tomorrow's class on the further arguments that there are to be made of even when you don't have, you should still give. Because it's, well, as we will see in forthcoming class. Okay, do we have any questions? Please, does the desert example change if it's your child? Because I feel like the responsibility would be greater, or no? First of all, I just touched upon it. There's debate about what to do. And the parameters, we just gave the very basic idea of it. So if it was your own child, you mean, would you give the flask of water to your child so your child would live and you will die? So it's a question, because if you give that flask of water to the other, even your own child, in a sense you are committing suicide. So it becomes a question, are you allowed to do that? So it's debate. Can you do that? Now, in a sense you're doing it. Are you literally doing it? But it becomes a bit of a question. Now, can you, further to that question, can you choose, can you therefore choose to give to another? It's not so simple. There's debate about it. It's not black and white. Great question, Elise. There's an opinion that says that you could sacrifice your life for another. My opinion says, no, you're not allowed to, because that would be suicide. Now, it's not literally suicide because, remember, effectively, you don't know exactly. There might be an oasis that's going to be saving you just over the hill. And, don't know for sure. That's why this is just the law with its parameters. How it plays out on the playing field, based on the circumstance, will make a difference in how, what you do or don't do. Very good, thank you. We are one is exactly correct. Is anybody aware of any other organization that's not from another community? Be interesting. Is it wise to have a mikvah before Rosh Hashanah? Is there a special Rosh Hashanah mikvah prayer, helping myself, or is it also for others? Very good question, Vera. Actually, there's a custom for some people before Yom Kippur to go to the mikvah, not before Rosh Hashanah, for even women to do that. For men, for sure. For women, there is such a thing before Yom Kippur, but there is such a custom. I have to look more into that to give more of an answer. But thank you, Vera. Good question. What is the address to purchase a letter in the Sefer Torah this Sunday? Hot in here. I'll put it in. I don't. I just put it in hakelmtl.org. I put you have to take away the spacer from the .org for to be able to get there. Okay. Is it that we take the first before our children, so we learn it and we are in good health to take care of the children? Just like on the airplane, where you're told to take the oxygen mask first before you give to your child. So, thank you, Yiddish Mädel. So, the fact that you have to take the mask, oxygen mask first, and then give to your child, right? It's telling us that it's not in the same manner over here, because here we're talking about one flask that's going to save one person. So here you got to take care of yourself and then take care of the child. I don't think it's the idea because of, you're saving one person. And who's going to be the one of the two? I think it's a little different. Similarities, but a little different. Thank you. Although there, some crossover there for sure. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Amazing. More on this to come. Some people believe that the child comes first. Yeah, again, there's some debate on how to deal with that. All right, folks. Amazing. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zech and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, wonderful day. Good and great Shabbos. Thank you.